I've done that maybe 10,000 times, probably more. Every site, every banner, click, gone, move on. Because it was in the way. Because I wanted the page behind it. Because whatever it was asking, I had already decided wasn't worth reading. But I want to take you through what actually happens when you click that button. Not in a scary way, not in a delete all your apps way, just what is actually going on. Because I went down this rabbit hole a few weeks ago, and I could not believe how much machinery exists underneath something I'd been mindlessly clicking away my entire life. And the deeper I went, the more one question kept coming back. Who actually benefits when I click that button? Okay, so what is a cookie, actually? A cookie is a small text file. That's it. It's not a program. It's not spyware. It doesn't do anything on its own. It's just a tiny piece of text a website writes onto your device when you visit, and that text holds information. The original use case is genuinely useful. You log into a site, add something to your cart, close the tab, come back an hour later. The site still knows who you are, still has your cart. That's a cookie. The website wrote your session to a file on your device so it could remember you. Without that, every single page you clicked would ask you to log in again from scratch. Cookies were invented in 1994. A developer at Netscape named Lou Montulli, specifically to solve the shopping cart problem. Nobody was thinking about surveillance. Nobody was thinking about data economics. It was a technical fix for a practical frustration. That kind of cookie, session, login, cart is called a first-party cookie. It belongs to the site you're on. And honestly, it's fine. It's what makes the web actually usable. But somewhere along the way, a second type of cookie appeared, and that one has a very different agenda. Here's something most people don't realize about a web page. When you visit a site, say a news site, you're not just loading content from that news site, you're loading content from dozens of places at the same time. An ad network, an analytics platform, a social sharing plugin, an embedded video, maybe a live chat widget. Every single one of those external services can set its own cookie on your device. Those are called third-party cookies. And unlike first-party cookies, they don't belong to the site you're actually on. They belong to whoever owns that ad network, that analytics tool, that widget. And here's the key thing about those cookies. They follow you. If the same ad network runs ads on the news site you just visited, and also on the shopping site and the sports site and the forum you use, which it does because the same handful of networks power most of the web, then that network's cookie is on your device from all of those places, and it can see exactly where you've been. Every site, every article, every product page you hovered on, every search, everything you opened, scrolled past, came back to. Stitched together into a timeline. They call this a shadow profile. You never signed up for it, you didn't create an account with them, you never gave them your name, you just clicked a banner you didn't read. 30 times, and the profile built itself around you. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. We're not talking about vague categories. We're talking about specific data points, aggregated from millions of sources, grouped into audience segments that advertisers can buy. There are entire companies whose business model is building these profiles and selling them. They're called data brokers. And most of us have never heard of them, even though they hold files on most of us. A company called Axiom, based in Conway, Arkansas, has data profiles on roughly 2.5 billion people worldwide. 2.5 billion. More people than have Facebook accounts. The categories they sell include purchasing behavior, financial health indicators, political views, estimated health conditions, and life events. A recent divorce, a new baby, a death in the family. They buy data from apps, from retail purchases, from public records, from other brokers. They package it, and they sell it to whoever wants to reach a very specific kind of person. And this isn't a conspiracy, this is a public industry. Axiom has a website, a careers page. You can actually request your own profile. The cookie you clicked away this morning, that was one data point feeding into a machine like this. Now here's the question you're already sitting with. If this is so obviously invasive, Discord, why is it still running? Why hasn't anyone stopped it? Oh, the answer is more complicated than you'd expect, because someone did try. Hold on, because this part is the piece most videos skip entirely. In 2020, Google announced something that looked like a turning point. Chrome, which runs on roughly 65% of all web browsers, was going to block third-party cookies entirely. Gone. Dead. They set a deadline. 2022. For a moment, it genuinely looked like the era of shadow profiles was coming to an end. Privacy advocates celebrated. Regulators paid attention. Smaller ad networks started spiraling. Then 2022 came. Google pushed the deadline to 2023, then 2024, then 2025. And then, in April 2024, they announced they were scrapping the plan altogether. Third-party cookies weren't going anywhere. What happened? Google earns around $237 billion a year from advertising. Their entire business model runs on knowing who you are, what you want, and which ad is most likely to convert you. The cookie isn't just a privacy question for Google, it's the load-bearing wall of a $300 billion industry. Removing it would have been like pulling the thread that holds the whole thing together. Now, the cookie banner, that pop-up you've been clicking away. It exists because of a European regulation called the GDPR, passed in 2018. The law said, before you track someone, you need to ask. You need consent. That's why the banners appeared. But the law didn't say how prominent the reject all button needed to be. So sites made accept all the big green button. They made manage preferences a small gray link buried 3 menus deep. They watched the accept rates hold steady near 80%. The banner was never designed to inform you. It was designed to look like consent while manufacturing it. That's what's now called the consent illusion. The appearance of choice, engineered to produce a specific outcome. Most videos about this end with, just be more aware, which is honest but kind of useless. So here's what's actually actionable. I've linked everything in the description. None of it is sponsored. These are just what I use or what's worth looking at. First, your browser matters more than any setting inside it. Chrome is built by an advertising company. Firefox is built by a nonprofit. Safari blocks third-party cookies by default. If you care about this, that's the first real lever. Not an extension, not a setting. The browser itself is the choice. Second, a tracker blocker. The one I use is uBlock Origin. It blocks trackers before they can place cookies in the first place. Not slows them down. Blocks them. Free. 3 minutes to install. There are alternatives too. Privacy Badger. Ghostery. Brave's built-in blocker, if you use Brave. They all do broadly the same thing in different ways. Links to all of them are below. Every time you load a page with one of these running, it tells you exactly how many trackers it just stopped. On most news sites, that number is above 30. Third, on cookie banners, look for reject all or manage preferences before you click accept. Those 10 extra seconds is the difference between consenting and not consenting. None of this makes you invisible. None of it fully opts you out of the data economy. But it meaningfully reduces the number of dots being connected. And at minimum, you're making an actual choice, not just the one that was engineered for you. This is one thread. There's a lot more underneath. The series I'm building is about the tech we use every day, and what's actually running underneath it. Things like what happens in the fraction of a second between you pressing enter and a page loading. Why your phone knows where you are, even with GPS off. What deleting something actually does. Every one of those has a story most people have never heard. If that's the kind of thing you want to understand, not just use, but actually understand, subscribe. That's exactly what this channel is for. Here's what I want to leave us with. Cookies are one thread, one mechanism inside a system that's much larger. A system where the thing being bought and sold is behavioral data. What you click, how long you hover, what you abandon in a cart, what you search at 11 p.m., what you come back to. All of it running quietly in the background of every device we own. I'm not saying this to make you paranoid. I genuinely use the internet. I use the apps. I don't think understanding this means you have to live off-grid and delete everything. But there's a difference between using a system and being used by it without knowing it. I clicked accept all 10,000 times without ever asking what it meant. Now I know what it means. That part has changed. The thing I keep thinking about, has there ever been a moment where an ad felt a little too specific? Something that knew something it probably shouldn't have? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how many of us have had that experience and never thought anything of it until now.